Today on Stewart-Cox Family Breaking News. As the cold and flu season drags on, multiple states across the U.S. are now also reporting cases of measles, a highly contagious virus that primarily affects children. The case count remains low, but reports of new infections have continued to pop up in states across the U.S. Leave a comment below, and now let's see the clip.
All right, we're back here at News Nation now. You know, the measles become a big story here with doctors and health officials urging caution because their cases have been rising across the United States. In fact, some numbers in from the CDC showing this year alone, 35 measles cases have been reported in at least 15 states. So let's bring Dr. Amish Adalja in. He's an infectious disease specialist and senior scholar at Johns Hopkins, and joins us here in the studio in New York. So it's great to see you here in person. We've had you on remote so many times, and this has become a big story, particularly in Florida, because the state surgeon general there has been kind of defying, he has been defying the CDC guidelines on measles. Kids are supposed to stay home, right, if they're exposed for like 3 weeks, and he's not enforcing that, I guess.
Exactly. What we want is individuals who are contagious to stay home, and we also want the unvaccinated individuals that might be at a given school. And some kids are too young to be vaccinated or might be immunocompromised. We want them to be given guidance that they need to stay away until this outbreak is over. And we've had measles outbreaks in the past. Other years have been even worse. But what we don't have is people kind of flouting science-based guidance. Now,
as I said, it's the state surgeon general. They have a surgeon general in the state of Florida, writes a letter to parents. Let's put up the letter, guys, on the screen. I'll read part of it here. It's just saying, due to the high immunity rate in the community, as well as the burden of families and educational cost of healthy children missing school, DOH, so the Department of Health, is deferring to parents or guardians to make decisions about school attendance. It's very popular in conservative circles to say, let's put the power with the parents. But you're saying that the science doesn't back that up.
This is a recipe for that outbreak to get even larger and become more costly. Even though there is a high level of immunity in the population, because most children in Florida are vaccinated, this is the most contagious disease known to humankind.
Right.
And you need to have vaccination levels above 95% to keep it at bay. If you've got unvaccinated individuals mixing with people that might be contagious or infectious, the virus is going to find them, and they're going to then spread to more people, and the outbreak gets bigger and bigger and more costly to control. So this recipe that he's actually advocating is one that's going to make Florida less safe and cost the health department and cost taxpayers more to control.
The children should stay home 3 weeks. That's the guidance, right? If they're exposed. So even if some other child in their classroom, I think that's what exposure means, has measles, so you stay home for 3 weeks.
Until the outbreak is quenched, and this is for the unvaccinated kid. If you're a vaccinated child, these cases don't really pose a risk to you. It's for the unvaccinated individuals that need to stay away until that threat is gone. And if they've been exposed, they might actually pop up and become contagious themselves with the case, and they could spread it to other individuals.
Now, it's not just Florida, as we said in the introduction there. There are other states where we're seeing measles cases going up. But what's the perspective on that? Are they going up much more than we've seen in other years? Is it comparable to other years? We don't want to be alarmist about this. So is it measles making a comeback? I mean, how bad is it?
We certainly had worse years. 2019, we had a major outbreak right here in the New York and New Jersey area, over 1,000 cases. Back in 2014, we had a major outbreak linked to Disneyland with over 600 cases. So we've seen bigger years. But what's worrisome about this trend is that this is the anti-vaccine movement on steroids after COVID-19, where they've taken their misinformation on COVID-19 vaccines and metastasized it into measles. And we have higher rates of exemptions in students right now for vaccine requirements to enter school. That's the recipe. That's a recipe for allowing measles to spread, and we may get more. We're going to get more cases. It may not be the worst case on record, but this is all preventable. We've got a safe and effective vaccine that's been available since the 1960s.
The thing for me as a non-doctor looking in on all of this, but having covered, and you and I have talked about COVID for years and years, the vaccine controversy and back and forth there. You could understand how people would have questions about a new vaccine. I'm not saying necessarily that their position is correct, but you can understand, well, this is a new vaccine. We have a lot of questions about this. We don't trust it. We want to look into it more. So that's a position for some people. But in this case, is there any reason to question a measles vaccine at all?
No, this is a vaccine that's been around since the 1960s. That was responsible for the elimination of measles from not just from North America, but also South America. What's happened is that there's been a lot of flawed studies that got a lot of press on links between autism that have been completely debunked and completely retracted, those studies that were shown to be fraudulent. But that's kind of gotten its own life in the anti-vaccine movement. And individuals like RFK Jr. continue to promote this idea that's been debunked. It's completely false and arbitrary.
But there's nothing to any of that.
No, there's nothing to it at all.
So it's interesting to watch the effect of it, though, because there's a real effect when people stay home or don't stay home when they're supposed to, when these guidance are put out. So we'll see how it goes in Florida.